Okay, English 232, Miss Brewer here for, where are we, week 6, I think. I think we're on week 6, week 5 or 6. Your lecture video here. So guys, this week you should be finishing up your papers. I've already given you guys feedback on the thesis and outline. I did that immediately so that you guys had immediate feedback and understood some of the expectations. Please remember, you know, that paper needs to be MLA formatted. Please remember that you are using the literature we read in this class, literature, to back up your analysis of the American Dream in that quote. Be sure that you are citing, make sure that the paper is cited and make sure it's in MLA format. Make sure that it's formal academic language. So those things are super important, and I went over those last week. Yeah, last week. In that Blackboard Collaborate recording, just to kind of make sure that I reiterate to you now. Please get the paper revised if you can, you know, write it and try to submit it, you know, to tutoring or something to that effect. If you choose to take part in that peer edit forum, good for you. You know, no pressure on that. So that's just another opportunity to get a pair of eyes on your paper. Also, you can use Grammarly. Grammarly gives you really great feedback on grammar issues and sentence structure and things like that to elevate your writing. So you have a lot of different options out there. And again, I've already given you the feedback on the outline, so that should be helpful to direct you to make changes here and there if needed. So you're finishing up your paper. Again, please don't turn the first draft into me. Have somebody else look at it, make some edits, make some changes, turn in your second or third draft as your final draft. And then we're gonna get into, I didn't give you guys like a large reading this week because you were finishing the paper, but we are getting into the Harlem Renaissance. And so you have some background information with the website, a brief guide to the Harlem Renaissance, and then that video, or excuse me, the website about Langston Hughes, because we are reading more poetry by Langston Hughes today, you know, father of the Harlem Renaissance kind of person, super important to begin this section of our course. And then that crash course video, I just love John Green, and I think he gives really detailed information, and he does it in a really relatable way. He does talk really, really fast, like me, but even faster. So using the closed captioning is really helpful on his videos. And it just gives you a nice rounded, you know, kind of information when it comes to the background and what's really important for the literature, okay? So his crash course video is awesome. So the link here to Langston Hughes poetry, you're not going to read all of his poetry, but you do need to read the assigned poems. Now we've already read Harlem, okay? That's our anchor text for the course. So you'll read Dreams, I Too, and just to kind of let you know, I Too relates to, is Langston Hughes's response to Walt Whitman's I Hear America Singing. So we read that at the beginning of the semester, and that is Langston Hughes's response to him. So Dreams, I Too, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, I think that's one of his most famous poems. Dream Variations, and of course we have Harlem, is in there. You've already read it, but you want to be refreshing yourself on that and applying, you know, that poem to almost everything we're reading, okay? How can we relate this particular text to what Langston Hughes wrote here? How can we do that? And then Let America Be America again. So you have those poems. They're not super long. I didn't want to give you a big, you know, load of reading this week when you were finishing your essay. So, however, you do also need to participate in the discussion forum. So we're discussing Langston Hughes, and your discussion forum this week, you will just choose one of the two questions. You don't have to answer them both. I do want you to read all the poems. And then which ones stood out to you? Which ones would you prefer to discuss? But what I would encourage you to do is, if you choose to answer question 2, then, you know, make your comments on people who chose to answer question 3. So in your thread title, maybe you should like indicate which question you're answering, right? So if I choose question 2, and I'm going to talk about dream variations and dreams, then I will write my name, you know, in a little thing, you know, question 2 for my thread, for the title of the thread, question 2 or question 3. And then that way you can interact with all of the poetry, even if you're, you know, making your initial response on dreams and dream variations. When you reply to your peers, you can talk about I too, and Let America Be America again. Okay. And this is really kind of jumping into deeply analyzing the poems and looking at what he does and what is the effect of that. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. So this week, you know, you're going to get your background to Harlem Renaissance. We will stay in the Harlem Renaissance next week. And so next week you guys will be reading kind of like a short story type thing by Zora Neale Hurston, and you guys will be writing a mini essay. So we will not do a discussion forum. Your mini essay is essentially the same word length as a forum, but it's just going to be a paper instead. And you won't have to do any additional like research or anything like that. It's just kind of like an informal essay where you're looking at the literature of the Harlem Renaissance. So you can prepare for that for next week. Yeah, it's a heavy writing course and a heavy reading course because it's upper level English, but I do think that the readings are interesting. So hopefully that's helpful. If you guys have questions about your essay, make sure that you're shooting me an email before it's due. And of course, make sure that you get your initial response in the forum by Friday, and then your 2 responses by Sunday. And that's kind of what our assignments are this week. So if you have questions, be sure to get in touch with me and I'll be happy to address them. And I will check in with you guys next week. Have a great week.